Well, folks, you know you've been through it when this activity on the Schumann response seismic measurement of the Earth's resonance and frequency looks normal because this is what we've been through the last couple of days. It's starting to calm down a little bit today, it looks like. But I ended up purchasing the app because I just think it's really interesting to compare this with the activity of what's going on in the stars. So it's obviously correlated based on my previous post. If you don't know what I'm talking about, swipe to the side and look at my last post that I uploaded. So looking at the history, I thought it was kind of interesting. And I just pause here for a minute on the screen recording to show you that there's 3 days prior to this whammy of energy we've been experiencing where there was like a blackout. So you can see like 3 areas where there's like a couple hours of no activity. Now, I did a bit of investigation into like what this means. And of course, there's always like a mundane explanation where, you know, some people are like, it's just the equipment, like they have a technical difficulty or whatever. But then there's also a lot of other people who have theories about it being like a reset or the energy shifting or internalizing. So instead of going outwards and vibrating in an external way, it's recalibrating and going internal, right? So I just think it's kind of curious that there was 3 days of this happening prior to this huge surge that we've been experiencing over the last couple of days. So I just wanted to make note of that moving forward as I continue to compare these things. I also just want to reiterate here that like the more I know, the less I know. And anybody who is out there saying that they know exactly what is going on is lying to themselves and to you. Not intentionally necessarily, but we don't really know, folks. So being open-minded and curious and observing patterns is my mission, essentially. Just try to see what I can put together, but always being open to being wrong because the brain is 100% followable. And a lot of the information that we're using here is not necessarily reliable, in air quotes, okay? The key is discernment and understanding that ultimately you decide what makes sense for you in any given moment. And that can change also. It's not black and white or static. Okay, with that being said, what I'm putting together here is this combination of the Schumann resonance energies and what is going on in the sky. So to recap, what we have here is the history, like the last few days, showing the huge whammy of energy that has hit us. And then this is today. It seems to be calming down, but this calming down is still really elevated activity compared to where we are at normally, typically, as you can see earlier in the week here from this history. So just looking at this in conjunction with the current astronomical positions of the planetary bodies and etheric beings that we track in astrology. This is known as true sky sidereal astrology, using the current astronomical placements of these beings as they travel the line of the ecliptic and move through the constellations known as the zodiac. This is what astrology is meant to be. Tropical astrology is not that. And if you want to know more about that, you can look at some of my other videos. But essentially, this activity with the Schumann resonance and the crazy energy waves that have been hitting us as a result of this, I believe, is in direct correlation with what is happening in the sky right now. So we are in a pivotal moment and a choice point when it comes to how the zodiac works and the alchemical energies of these planets and etheric bodies moving through the constellations. Like, this is how it works. Okay. So where we're at right now, as I mentioned, is pivotal, as I believe Ophiuchus to be a choice point and a pattern interrupt in the hero's journey that is the zodiac. Astrology is meant to be like a weather forecast where these bodies and star groupings create certain conditions, energetic predispositions, in order to facilitate certain types of experiences for us to work through and unwind the collective karma of humanity. This is the entire point of our existence here, is just working through the endless potentials that want to play out in the universe. So astrology is basically the patterning that creates effects that we still have free will to do something about, but it creates predispositions because predetermination and free will both exist. We have certain things set as far as patterns go, but we ultimately can choose which pattern we're paying attention to and what direction we want it to go. I have a whole video on the patterning of the zodiac, the most superficial layers of it anyways, you can check out. But where we're at right now, essentially, Scorpio is deep water. It is fixed water, so deep emotions, and it is also death and endings and cycles, essentially. So when we get to this point in the story of the zodiac and the energies that we are progressing through, we are meant to surrender to our feelings, the feelings and our emotions. Emotions are energy and motion. So emotions and feelings are the vehicle for us to work through and unwind this karma. It is the connection between the etheric and astral realms and the physical. That's what emotions are. It's how we can tell what direction to go and what we should be doing. It's how we get feedback from the environment. So Scorpio, deep emotions. We're meant to be feeling our feelings and surrendering to that. And then by going through that death portal, we can be reborn through Ophiuchus, which is sharing the same part of the sky. It shares the 8th house, but it is the rebirth aspect of this energy. So you surrender through the death portal of Scorpio and you are reborn through Ophiuchus, like the phoenix rising from the ashes. Ophiuchus is ruled by Chiron, the wounded healer, the asteroid that literally pushes on our karmic wounds in order to bring them to our awareness for us to make peace with them and release the density that is associated with living in a dualistic victim perpetrator type of mindset. It is also over the galactic center, which is a black hole and essentially the womb of receptive energy. It pulls things into it to be reborn. And it also represents the 5th element, the ethers, which is the space between matter, the everything and the nothing, essentially the Godhead. Okay, so this part of the sky, when the sun moves over it, requires a pause. It's a reset in order to see what we're going to choose. It's a choice point. Like, are you going to continue to react to your environment, be a victim, or feel like you need to enact justice on another and perpetuating and reinforcing the duality of the othering? Or are you going to surrender to your experience, understand and accept total responsibility for your creation and move up the rung? This is the whole idea. We're meant to be harnessing these energies to evolve and shake off the density of the lower level experiences so that we can become more spacious and return to the God state. So it makes a lot of sense to me that this Schumann resonance has been crazy as we're transitioning from this energy of Scorpio and like the deep emotions associated with that into Ophiuchus and the healing. Because in order to heal, we have to have things brought into our awareness. So we've likely been triggered. All this spicy energy is like bringing things up in us to look at, right? I'll be curious to see how the correspondence plays out over the remainder of Ophiuchus season, which goes until December 18th. So if you're into this sort of content, give me a like, give me a share, give me a comment, pass this on to somebody who you think might benefit from it. Let's get it out there so that we can harness these energies and make astrology a primary experience once more.